This is the EWN Podcast Network.
Ever wondered how you could turn your side hustle into a full-time gig and spend more time together?
Hi, I'm Vicki, a #1 best-selling author.
And I'm John, a retired Los Angeles police officer. Welcome to Dig the Well, where we help couples navigate the world of business.
We've been married for 35 years, and because we built a successful side business, John retired 9 years earlier than he originally planned from the Los Angeles Police Department after 25 years on the job. Now we spend more time together, and we want to help couples like you do the same.
Join us as we help you overcome common obstacles, and we show you how to make extra income without sacrificing family time.
Ready to dig deep and build your well? Let's get started. Hello, hello. Welcome back to Dig the Well. We're glad you're here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Howdy.
This is a fun one. This is going to be fun because who doesn't love to travel? If you're on a platform where you can comment, put in the comments if you love to travel. We would love to see all those comments.
Yeah.
We love to travel.
Yeah, we do.
Yeah.
And we've been able to travel to a lot of places.
Yeah. So we have got some tips for you today on business travel, making the most of your money when you're traveling. And I get to interview John because he is our travel guru.
Yeah, I wish. So preface this right off that we're not saying that we're experts. I think we know probably more than most about travel because we've just done it so much and we've learned a lot of tips and tricks along the way. And we want to kind of share that with y'all. But we're not saying that we know everything about it. And some of the things people may not agree with, and they may know something better, and that's awesome. And let us know if there is. Help us out too. But we're just trying to share what we've done, what we've learned, and how we think it's really benefited us for travel, and it's saved us money and allowed us to fly in the pointy end of the plane more often than not. Just with some of these easy little tricks that we do.
Yeah, and this is being recorded. If you're listening, years later, this is being recorded in March of 2025. So things can also change.
Yeah, you might be on a supersonic jet or something that they may not really apply to.
But some of the tips, in the travel industry, it does change. So that's the only reason I wanted to bring that up. Because John, I used to do my own travel, just so you know, from 2014, I was traveling a lot alone without John, and I figured some stuff out, and I was pretty proud of myself.
Yeah.
But then you took it over
after I retired.
Yeah,
and maybe a little before that because I was traveling a little bit more.
And that was one less thing for me on my plate that John's and he really enjoys it. It's actually, I enjoyed it too. I was kind of sad to toss it over to him, but I'm glad.
But I do it so much better.
I'm glad he does it for us now, and he actually helps our team in our business when they are traveling somewhere and they are looking for flights. He's got some really great tips for them. So he gives tips and sometimes just watches out for really great flights. So let's dive right in. Okay. So I've got my list of questions because I don't want to forget to ask these juicy, important questions. So the first one, are you ready, Mr. Downey?
I'm ready.
Okay. Is it always best to fly the cheapest fare?
Yeah. So I look at it like there's two philosophies to flying. So one is always finding the cheapest airfare and just grabbing those tickets. It may be on who knows what airline it is. It could be on any kind of airline. Or the other philosophy is pick an airline that you want to fly mostly, to focus most of your flying through and try and earn elite status through that airline. And you also amass a number of frequent flyer miles or points, whatever the airline uses. When I refer to miles, or if I refer to points, it's the same thing, right? It's some sort of currency that's offered by the airline, a credit card, whomever it is, that you can use. And it actually has value to it because you can use that to trade it for another flight. And a lot of these same principles apply to rental cars and hotels, right? It's just pretty much anything in the travel industry is about the same. And you'll see a lot of similarities to rental cars and hotels that you do with airfare. And it has to do with how they do their pricing anymore. It's very dynamic. It's changing all the time. And it's kind of a pain. But anyways, so if you focus with one airline, you're going to earn a ton of frequent flyer miles that you can redeem later. And that's nice because when you buy those, when you spend your frequent flyer miles or your points for what they call an award ticket, all you're paying then is taxes and fees. And the taxes, it's not sales taxes when I'm talking about, it's the different taxes that are associated with that ticket.
Mhm.
Oftentimes it's not that much. Sometimes it's like $5.
Yeah, it's crazy. I know we've gone to Europe and barely paid anything, and then we've gone to Mexico, and their fees are a lot higher.
Yeah,
right?
so Mexico, I think during the pandemic, they raised their gate fees that they charge
Mm.
the airlines. So the airlines pass that fee on to the award tickets by adding that in. So you're paying those fees anyhow. Another thing too is if you're going to buy an award flight, an award ticket, the one airline you want to avoid like the plague is British Air,
Wow.
because they pass a fuel surcharge
Ah,
onto their award tickets.
yeah.
So the award ticket could cost as much as just buying the flight outright if you
Wow.
just log into the website.
That's a really pro tip.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they suck.
So, yeah. So, regarding both of those ways, right? Finding the cheapest and doing that, and just exclusively going with one airline or grouping of airlines. Um, we used to do the cheapest. I think almost everybody starts out that way.
Mhm.
I think it's taught from our parents. I don't know, but everyone I talk to, it tends to just go to Google Flights or go somewhere and try to find the cheapest and just go with that. And if you travel once in a while, that's an okay way to go, right?
Right.
Right?
Exactly. Because if you don't fly that much, you're not that frequent of a flyer. It doesn't matter whether you have airline status status with a particular airline, because you don't fly enough to make it worthwhile. But if you're flying a lot, or at least several times a year, it may be worth spending a little bit more money on your flights and focusing on one airline, earning status, so you get those free upgrades to first class. And some airlines, their elites, they allow them lounge access.
Mm-hmm.
And then the other thing too is when you have, you want to look at the right airline to work with. Let's say you're going to use that strategy. You're going to fly a particular airline. You want elite status. You want to build up your miles with that airline so you can take some free flights. You want to look for an airline that you're close to their hub. So they all have major hubs. Most all airlines fly in what they call a hub and spoke kind of a pattern, where they fly into a major hub, and then from that hub you can take a flight to the airport you want to get to. So like for us, we live close to Orange County Airport, John Wayne Airport, but that's not a major hub for anyone. It's a small air, which is why we love that airport.
Yeah.
Same with Ontario, another great airport. Very quiet, very easy to get in and out of.
Yeah.
It's everything that LAX is not, right?
Yeah.
But what LAX is that none of them are, is a huge hub for almost all major domestic airlines. And some of the cheapest flights you're going to find from LAX, because it's a big hub. Generally, they're going to be cheaper airfare from the hubs. But let's say you live near,
Tucson, Arizona.
yeah. So, yeah, I guess that's close to Phoenix. So you probably want to stick with American, because Phoenix is a big hub for American. So American was taken over by US Air. And so they used their main hubs from US Air, which was Phoenix, it's Charlotte, it's DFW,
Big
and
time
Los Angeles.
DFW. Yeah.
Yeah. And oftentimes we found flights and we leave LAX and you think, okay, we're going to go straight to wherever we're flying. No, we make a stop over in Phoenix.
Right, we do.
So it's a
crazy.
short little flight to
Like an
Phoenix.
hour.
We change planes and we're off again.
Yeah.
Oh, and another thing too is, and this just has nothing to do with what we're talking about right here, but if you're looking for flights, and let's say you still book through a travel agent, because a lot of people still use travel agents and they're awesome. We don't, but a lot of people do. If you tell your travel agent you want a direct flight, that doesn't mean it's a nonstop. People get the two terms. They think they're the same, nonstop and direct. It's not. You can book a direct flight, or a travel agent can book you a direct flight if that's what you want, and it may make one or two stops and have layovers.
I was confused by that.
Yeah, a direct flight simply means the flight number doesn't change. So it gets you from your origin to your destination with the same flight number. However, it may make a stop or two in between. It may go for, let's say you're taking a flight from LAX to JFK, and it's not a nonstop flight. You say, I want a direct flight, but it makes a stop at DFW. And you're flying, let's say American Airlines Flight 13 to JFK. When it lands in DFW, it leaves DFW AA13 going to JFK. So it is
Right.
truly a direct flight, but it's not a nonstop. So if you want a nonstop, say nonstop.
Yeah. I remember you had to tell me that because I kept calling things. I think a lot of people do. We just say
Most people
direct
do.
thinking
Yeah.
nonstop.
Like we'll talk to people and they'll say, yeah, I had to fly out of whatever airport that they like. For us, we a lot of times fly out of LAX. We don't like it. The drive there is a nightmare. The drive home's a nightmare. Parking isn't particularly fun. But people say, well, I fly out of LAX because that's the only place I can find a direct flight to where I'm going. When what they really mean is that's the only place I can find a nonstop to where I want to go. Like we just got back from Tulum, Mexico, and so many of the people that live near us, they were all flying out of Orange County, out of John Wayne, and none of them had, as far as I know, not a single one of them had a nonstop. Because I don't think there are any options nonstop to Tulum, Mexico from John Wayne. LAX, no problem.
So that's why we bit the bullet, and we were so glad we did because their day turned out to be 12 hours or more. Ours was short and sweet.
Another thing to keep in mind too is if you need to be somewhere, or if you really want to be somewhere at a certain time, you really want to catch a nonstop flight because and you want to book that early in the morning because it's less likely that your flight will be delayed. Most flights aren't canceled. It's rare that a flight cancellation occurs, but delays are pretty common.
Right.
And if you have a morning flight, there's generally the plane's been there since the night before. So it's been at the gate. It should be good to go in the morning when you're scheduled to leave. If you're taking a later in the afternoon or evening flight, that flight, they're relying on a plane coming to you.
Mhm.
If that flight is delayed, it's going to be delayed getting to you. So you're going to be delayed taking off, getting to your destination. And the reason why you want a nonstop is for the obvious reason, there's no connection. You're not stopping, you're not changing planes, you're not moving through the airport. And what if your flight is delayed and you can't make that connection? Then you're screwed because you might have to wait another day or two for another flight to get to where you're going. So
that's a pro tip right there. Most people don't even think about that, right? That's a super pro tip.
Yeah, and getting back to the original thing about the different strategies, whether you want to stick with one airline or fly the cheapest. Flying the cheapest saves you money, obviously, right? But then again, some of those what they call ultra low cost carriers, they're an ultra low cost carrier for a reason, right? They lack the amenities, they lack the service, they lack comfortable seats.
That's for sure.
Some of them are kind of sketchy on their plane maintenance. So I'm not saying don't fly them, and we've flown them before. I just don't fly them anymore.
Yeah.
We
got to a point in our life, right, that we're paying a little more, but it's worth it.
It's definitely worth it.
Our mindset.
And just for the aircraft maintenance, right? For them, because they're working on such low margins, they have to push those planes. If the plane's not in the air, it's not making them money. So they don't want the plane on the ground going through the maintenance that other airlines will put through. Will maintain their aircraft in a shorter schedule. So in other words, they'll keep up with maintenance better. Even calling in those planes, which they don't like to do, but sometimes it works out better for them to get those planes in, get it maintained, get it back out, and they have a huge staff of mechanics that can do that. If you're flying on some of these ultra, I'm not saying all of them, but some of them, they're pushing those planes so hard.
Yeah, it's scary. All right. So now, maybe you're having the philosophy, okay, I don't travel a lot, so I'm going to go with the cheapest fare and just do that. Or maybe you're starting to see, I am traveling more. I'm going to pick a carrier like John was talking about and go with them exclusively. So you've got that all set in your mind now. Okay. But the question arises, why do fares change? And fares mean, let's clarify for everybody. Fares mean the price you're going to pay, right?
Yeah, the ticket price.
Right. Just wanted to throw that out there because I don't know, sometimes some people don't understand. So why do fare prices change?
Oh, for a number of reasons, right? And generally it changes as it gets closer to the departure time, the departure date. But they change anyhow, because if you think about it, if you actually ask people who you're sitting next to on an airplane, you're going to find, if you ask 10 people, you're going to get 10 different answers on what they paid for their ticket, right? It's amazing. And some of the times you're going to find that the person sitting right next to you has basically the same seat that you do, paid maybe half as much as you did, or maybe paid twice what you paid. And a lot of it comes down to when they booked, because fares are done in fare buckets. So there's only a certain, like if you've got, if the plane has, let's say 150 seats in it in main cabin. So, and they're all relatively the same, right? Out of the 150, they'll release a certain amount of seats in a low fare bucket. So that's why booking early makes sense, because you're going to probably have a better chance of booking in one of the lowest fare buckets. But once they run out of seats, they maybe have released however many seats in that fare bucket. Once they run out, the next purchase goes into the next fare bucket. And then until that fare bucket runs out, and the next purchase goes into the next fare bucket. And that's why you'll see on some airlines websites, you'll run a search and it'll come up with round trip $410, and it says 2 seats left. Well, it doesn't mean there's only 2 seats on the aircraft left. There's 2 seats at that price, at that fare bucket that's left. Right. So if you're running a search for just yourself, or just like the two of us, and I see the 2 seats left, I know I can get those 2 seats. So we book them. But what if there's a third person flying with us?
And that's happened.
Yeah.
That's happened many times.
The way it works is you would think, okay, you're going to get those last 2 seats at that lower fare bucket, and the next person's going to get the next one. That's not how it works. So on airline reservations, they have to have everybody in the same fare bucket at the same fare at the same booking code. So you'll skip those 2 seats in the cheaper fare bucket, and they'll automatically give you the 3 seats out of the next higher fare bucket.
Okay.
So how that works when we fly together, I'll oftentimes buy separate tickets on separate reservations, because I'll run the search for the seat with the 2 of us, or 2 passengers, and it tells me how much it's going to cost. But then I'll run another search for just 1 passenger, and sometimes I'll see the price come down.
I've done that.
Which tells me then there's only 1 seat left in that cheaper fare bucket. But since the reservation has 2 people, they have to put us both in the same fare bucket. They move us up, so we both pay the higher amount. So what I'll do then is I'll book 2 separate reservations. I'll book one for myself and one for Vic. And then that way we're going to get that last seat in the lowest fare bucket, and then the 1 seat in the next fare bucket higher.
Interesting. And you've learned this all on your own.
I know. Imagine that, right?
So are you recommending that that's what couples that are traveling should do?
Well, I mean, if you want to maximize your savings, and if you don't mind being on 2 reservations, and here's the other trick too, is let's say that happens and you find that you've got the last seat in that cheap fare bucket and you have 1 other seat in the other one. So you're on 2 separate reservations. You can call reservations and ask them to link your reservations together.
And link is the operative word, because I kept saying connect, and John's all, that's not the word. You need to use their language.
That's one thing. You learn it through this industry, that they have their own little language. Yeah. And it's really cool, because they're all human, right? Especially the people who are answering these customer service and reservations phone lines. They're on the phone all day long with people, and I would have to believe that most of the people aren't even nice to them.
Yeah,
right? It's usually they're calling because they're having a flight problem,
right?
And they take it out on the poor person on the other end of the line, who obviously had nothing to do with your flight problem,
right?
And is trying to help you.
So be nice.
So, and I'll tell you, when we've always been nice to airline personnel, and they've always been so nice back.
Until we're not getting what should happen, then we can be mean, right?
I don't think we're ever
not mean, but we can put our foot down. Like, I want to speak to your supervisor.
We're firm with certain things. Especially there's been times when we've talked to someone who they don't even understand some of their own policies. They say they can't do that. Yeah. We're like, well, actually you can. Is there someone else I can talk to? And here's another tip too for you guys. If you're calling on the phone, oftentimes it's better just to say, thank you very much for your time. No problem. And just be done. Hang up and call again.
Yeah. And isn't there a thing? I was thinking that
an acronym for that.
It's like hang up and call again. So HU.
I don't know.
Anyway, there's an acronym for that, and people know it because you'll talk to other travelers, and they're like, "Oh, did you XYZ LMNOP?"
It's true,
and it's hang up and call again.
Yeah, it's true with a lot of different industries and businesses, right? Oftentimes, you're speaking to someone who you know that they can help you, but they're either not willing to help you, or they don't know that they can help you. They may not even know their own policies that well.
And we've done it. So that's happened where, they clearly don't know their policy. John's reading the policy on the website. They're reciting something completely different. He's like, you don't even know your policy, but instead of arguing, you just say, okay, thank you, click. And he tells me what he's doing. They didn't even know I'm calling back. And when you call back, the next person knows the policy and does the right thing. It's crazy. Yeah. 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 So interesting.
What was I getting
about the fare price fair. Why did the fares change? You were talking about that.
Yeah, there was something to do with it, but we got totally sidetracked on the hang up and call again.
Yeah.
But anyways, maybe it'll come back to me in a little bit. Another reason why the fares changed too, or when you want to book, like people ask, I think you said you were going to ask me that, when was the best time?
Oh yeah. So next, yeah.
Oh, so anyways, the fares change. I want to get on this real quick is, as you get closer to departure, fares almost always goes up. And I don't recall ever seeing them come down. And it usually occurs right around the 21-day mark. The fares they go up considerably, and then they go up again at about 14, about 2 weeks out, and then a week out, they'll go up another pretty good jump, and they stay high. And the reason for it is they know they can make a ton of money on last minute travelers. People who are booking last minute, usually they're doing that because they don't have any other alternatives. And the airlines are going to try and get as much money out of them as possible, and they're usually business travelers. Because oftentimes people who are planning a vacation, they plan their vacations out months, sometimes years in advance.
Right.
So they're not the ones booking in that 7-day window before the flight. It's usually always a business traveler. And business travel, they're not so concerned about the fare price. They just need to get their employee from point A to point B.
Right. They should be. Like if you're like us, a micro entrepreneur or an entrepreneur,
right.
You should be concerned, but John's absolutely right. They're thinking of bigger
big companies big corporations. They don't care. They're just like, hey, we'll book it, get it done. And even like if you look at airport parking, there's a huge difference if you go to the parking lots on how much it costs for airport parking. Yet if you look at most business travelers, they book through the most expensive parking companies. And the reason why they do is they offer corporate accounts for them.
Right.
You're not booking from a little company. You're booking from this big company. You have a corporate account, and they're good at almost every major airport. It's the same parking company, good at every major airport in the United States. It's simple. They just get billed once for all the parking for all their employees, no matter where they are in the country. It's simple, although it's ridiculously expensive. It's like 3-4 times more than the parking lot next door.
So we're teaching you, if you're a solo entrepreneur, how to do it right. Yeah. With these philosophies, for sure.
We're not a big corporation, so it does matter, right? It does matter if we can save $100 on airfare.
It does. Absolutely. So, there's been a myth. Oh, you touched on it a little bit about when you should book. And I know that this is an example where things change over the years, depending when you're booking flights. So when back in 2014 was looking, there was a sweet spot of about the 56-day mark is when the prices were the rock bottom. That's what I was taught. But then John took over and I tried to give him that information that I knew, hey, are you going to start looking at our flights? Because we're 56 days out. He's all, oh, Vic, that doesn't matter. That has nothing to do with it. So that's an example. Why do they, when are the best times to book that you do? And you did touch a little bit on why they do it. But.
Yeah. And then I think you also had some idea of it was like best to book on like a certain day of the week.
Yeah, day of the week. Time, so hit on that too.
And I think maybe at some point in time it was true. There was probably something like that.
Like Tuesdays were good, not weekends.
A myth now though. Yeah. Today it's not done.
So
like
that was a myth. And myth alert.
Yeah, I was reading. I've read reports from people who have analyzed thousands and thousands of airfares over the last couple of years, and there is no pattern to it other than that Goldilocks window, which is most domestic flights have a Goldilocks window, which you're not booking too early and you're not booking too late. You're booking just right. It's about 1 to 3 months for a domestic flight, and then somewhere about 2 to 8 months for international flights. The only exception to that would probably be if you're flying in a holiday period, like you're flying around Thanksgiving or Christmas, then you'd want to probably add a few weeks to a month to that to start looking. But if you're flying and we'll stick with domestic for now. If you're flying domestically and you haven't booked your flight and you know about the flight, right? You know ahead.
Yeah, you've got a conference coming up. You know you need to go.
Right.
Yeah.
You know months in advance. Sometimes you know a year in advance. And if you wait till the last month to book, man, you're leaving yourself with very few options, and you're probably going to pay for it.
And a lot of times then a lot of entrepreneurs just won't even go. That has
Oh my
and that
gosh, yeah.
breaks my heart because they didn't plan. Poor planning on their part made it so they're not going to
Prior
go.
proper
Yeah, that's what I
planning
was trying to think
prevents
of.
piss poor performance.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's true. Say that again. Prior.
There's 7 P's to it.
Okay, say it again.
Prior proper planning prevents piss poor performance.
Exactly. So don't do that to yourself. We have a big international conference with our company coming up end of April, 25th, 26th, I believe. Anyway, we, bought our tickets for it months ago. I think a year ago with the last conference, we bought our tickets. So we've known for a year, like you were saying.
But we didn't buy our airfare for that a year ago.
Right. We waited, and John will have things on the calendar and he'll be looking ahead, and he's like, it's about time that we should be buying our conference airline tickets. And so, yeah, when was that for you that we did that?
I don't even
I
recall.
feel like December.
But I start looking and
Yeah.
I start looking at like some of the trends, and some of them just, when you first look, it's like, wow, this is ridiculously high, and we're still pretty far out. There shouldn't be that high. So does it matter? Like if you book too early, does it really make that much of a difference? Like I've booked flights like way in advance. I knew they were high, but I just wanted to get in there just because I was worried that the flights could go up. And
Right.
even though that we were months early, and I still booked it.
Right.
And I was right. They were high and they came down. And I'm thinking, gosh, if you think, well, I'm screwed. The prices came down. I already booked it. It's
Pro
already
tip
ticketed.
alert. Pro tip alert.
Yeah. All you got to do is pick up the phone, call reservations, and ask for the fare difference.
That's it. That
all
was
there
actually
is.
on my notes to ask about John. But yeah, you can change. Most people don't realize that. They think they're locked in. They can't get their money back. They can't get any type of credit. So explain that in a little more detail.
So here's the deal. Like when we book flights, I keep checking flights, and it's not that difficult to do a quick check on a flight. I usually use Google Flights. Just to track different flights. And they'll even give me an alert that says, hey, the prices are down. The problem with Google Flights, though, it looks for the cheapest airfare on whatever airline you choose. Like, for instance, we fly a lot of American Airlines in Alaska. And it used to be solely for both of us American. It's not because they're the best airline in the world. It was just that back in the day when Vicky was flying and I wasn't, she decided, hey, I'm going to stop the strategy of flying the cheapest air possible. And instead, I'm going to stick with one airline and amass frequent flyer miles and
I got the
get
credit
elite
card.
status. So
all of that.
Yeah. So what she did was she looked into all the legacy airlines, right? She's looking at American, United, and Delta to see which one worked out best for her. And it turned out to be American. At that time, American had a really good loyalty program. Their Advantage program was one of the best. They had a number of things going for them. So she decided, and they're still a decent airline. They went through a period where they were crappy, and I left them. As an executive platinum, their highest public tier level. I just had enough, and I've left them. I've since gone to Alaska. I don't regret it. I love Alaska Airlines.
And the cool thing is they partner together.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
The problem with Alaska is they just don't fly to enough destinations. So I still have to fly American. And like Vicky was saying, since they're a close partnership, I still get Alaska credit, and I can use my Alaska elite status on American Airlines.
Yeah.
But anyways.
So that's another pro tip.
Yeah. So Vic chose American Airlines to run with. And like she said, she got their co-branded credit card. There's reasons why you want to get a co-branded credit card. Another thing is people complain about paying bag fees. And if you fly Southwest, your bags don't fly free anymore.
Yeah, I've seen a lot about people are upset.
I don't blame them, right? Because there was always 2 bags flow free, right?
Yeah.
Flew free. Now it's 0 unless you have status with them. Or here's the deal, just get their co-branded credit card.
Yeah.
Right? I think if you have their co-branded credit card, you not only get Southwest, what do they call it?
Frequent
rapid
flyer
rewards
points
or something like that. You not only get their points, that's going to help you. You can use those points to book a free flight somewhere, but it gives you it's going to give you a free bag, I think.
Yeah,
right?
Exactly.
So it's worth it just for that reason alone.
And can we touch on that really quick? I think you were going somewhere else, but let's touch on that because I used to be one of those. I'm never paying for a credit card, an annual fee. I'm only getting free cards. Don't dare try to charge me. I had that philosophy. I don't need to be paying a yearly fee. Well, I quickly learned that Some cards are better than others, obviously, and some give you more rewards than you're even paying. For example, the American Airlines card that I have, the black card, I get Admirals Club. I get into any Admirals Club with that card. I find that it's worth it. I think we've used it time and time again. We would have been exhausted travelers if we didn't have it. We would have had to pay for food in the airport, like so many things. It's been worth it to me to get that. And then John's investigated other cards for us because it might be a $99 fee, right? But it gives you so much more. You get a free hotel stay somewhere. You get this, you get that. So gone are the days of us not paying for a card. We do have some free cards, but we're not opposed. And that's what I kind of want to ask John about. Like, what do you recommend for people maybe trying it for the first time, paying for a card?
I would say look at the benefits and just sit down and on a piece of paper start writing down the benefits that make sense to you, because some cards have benefits that you'll never use,
Right.
and then so of course there's no value at all with those benefits that the card lists. But look at it and figure out which of the benefits you can actually use, and
Right.
how much is that worth to you. Like, for instance, one of our cards gives us a $400 Dell.com credit. So every 6 months, we can order $200 worth of stuff, or whatever we order from Dell.com, we get $200 off.
And what does that cost us a year to have that card?
I forget.
Okay.
Anyways, there's a whole bunch of, I'm just saying that I just want to talk about that one benefit, because there's other benefits with that card too. But what I'm saying is, so it's $400 a year. But to me, is it really worth $400? Probably not, because I don't order from Dell.com every 6 months. If I were like constantly ordering, and it's a business card, so it's geared toward businesses, and Dell wants you to order your business supplies, computers and peripherals and whatnot through them. So it gets you in a habit of always going to Dell.com and ordering,
Right.
because you're going to get $200 worth of free stuff, free credit every 6 months. So to me, it was worth something, but not quite worth $400. So I had to figure out how much was that worth to me. And I figured out it's probably worth about $200, right?
Right.
So we ended up getting like our little gaming
Yeah.
chairs.
These chairs are from
So
Dell.
it's worth it for that. But other than that, I don't know that I would, it was worth it to me. But anyways, make a list of the benefits and how much they're actually worth to you. And then also consider the signing bonus, because there is a sign up bonus to most all credit cards, that if you are approved for the card, from the date you open the account, it may be 30 days, 60 days, however long, 90 days, it may be 6 months, but there's a certain spend requirement. So it may be $4,000 in the first 6 months of card ownership. So if you spend $4,000 in your first 6 months, or maybe $1,000 in the first 2 months, whatever it is, if you reach that threshold, they're going to give you a gob of points, a ton of points or miles. And if you look at a valuation, and there's websites that have valuations for every point system and every miles for airlines, and the points for whether it's credit card points, rental car points, hotel points, it tells you what their points are worth, or roughly what their points are worth. And you're going to find that on many of those, that sign up bonus, that welcome bonus, is worth thousands of dollars of points.
Mhm.
And
Yeah.
so, like, I know on some of the co-branded hotel cards, you can stay a week at one of their hotels for just the welcome offer.
Right. And some of the flight ones, you can take a cross country flight to and from, and another one sometimes.
Yeah,
But-
one of the airlines, you can their welcome bonus on their co-branded credit card is enough for a round trip flight to Europe.
Oh yeah, that's right.
So I mean,
Right.
there's some deals. So
we should probably do a podcast on credit cards, but yes.
yeah. So sometimes you're paying an annual fee, and you think, gosh, that kind of sucks. I'm paying for nothing. You're not actually paying for nothing, because if you look at the benefits, it may benefit you to pay the $300, $400, $500 annual fee. It may be worth it to you. And then there's some other strategies you can use to maximize that welcome offer more than once. Some credit cards allow you to earn it more than once. Others, it's like American Express, it's once in your lifetime.
Wow.
Once you've earned that welcome offer on that credit card,
Never
with
again.
very few exceptions.
Wow.
You're on your Social Security number is tied to it, and if you apply again, they're not going to give you the welcome offer unless you're targeted and they offer it to you. then the best thing to do is call them and make sure and verify that
Right.
you are eligible for the welcome offer, because the welcome offers are huge if you can get them.
Yeah, that is something that has totally transformed how we travel, is taking advantage of the good things for us from these credit cards, that where I used to just blow it off. So if that's you, it's something to investigate.
And
Yeah.
another little tip is, if you have a credit card that charges an annual fee and all of a sudden now that card doesn't have value to you, right? You look at that card, it comes up for renewal, and you just got charged, let's say this is March,
yeah.
right? So in March, they charge you get your statement, and they just charged you the $250 for the annual fee. And you're thinking, gosh, I don't even use the card anymore. Maybe I don't fly that airline any longer. I don't stay
Right.
at that hotel, whatever it is.
Right.
There's just not much value. Don't cancel the card outright.
That
If
hurts
you
you.
can, because your credit score is going to take a dip, because especially if you've had that card for any period of time, because part of your credit score, a good part of your credit score, is credit history. So you're taking away, because what they do is they average all of your open accounts, and it gives you an average of the accounts. So maybe your average is 7 years, 6 months, and you've had that card for the last 7 years. So if you cancel it outright, it takes it out of that equation. So now your average went from 7 years, 6 months down to 5 years, 4 months. So your credit score is going to take a dip because of that. The best thing to do is to call the credit card, its numbers on the back, and just ask for a product change. And just to explain to the operator, say, hey, look, you know what? I've had this card for 7 years. It had a lot of value when I first opened it. I loved it, but I'm not finding any value in it now, not enough to pay for the annual fee that I was just charged. So there's a lot of things that can happen for customer retention. They might just go ahead and tell you, I'll tell you what, I'm going to go ahead and reverse the annual fee, keep the card for the next year. There's no annual fee on it.
Right.
Or they'll say, we'll refund that annual fee back to you if you make $1,000 worth of purchases in the next 30 days. That's happened with us before too.
Right.
Or it has happened too, where they've said, you know what, how about if we reduce the annual fee in half? So instead of paying $250, you're only pay $125. Would you keep the card one more year? Because we don't want to lose you, they always say.
Right.
And if they don't have any retention offers for you, then just ask for a product change and just say you want to downgrade to a no annual fee card. And so they'll look in that family, because cards come in different families of cards, right? So whatever card that you're trying to downgrade, they're going to look within that family of cards. If there's a no annual fee option, you can just switch to that no annual fee. And what happens is it keeps your account open. It doesn't close your account and you're not opening the second account. It just moves from that annual fee card to the no annual fee card. So you keep
your credit history.
Exactly.
Yes.
So your score stays up. The only thing you won't get is you're not going to earn the welcome offer on that no annual fee card.
Right.
Don't fret about it, because no annual fee cards don't have any great welcome offers anyhow. That's why they're no annual fee card. If they had a super welcome offer that's worth thousands of dollars, it wouldn't be a no annual fee card. It would be at least $75, $95, which is pretty low for an annual fee card. But so we've done that many times, where we've done that product change, downgraded to no annual fee, and didn't care about the welcome offer anyhow, and kept our credit history.
Yeah. Wow. This is turning from flights to credit card tips. But this is good. I hope you re-listen to this. John just dropped a ton of nuggets. Tons.
Again, y'all might have different experiences with this, and if I've given him some advice and it didn't work out for you, I apologize, because like I said, I'm not an expert in any of these fields. It's just stuff that we've done over the years, and it's worked for us.
It's working for us.
Maybe we got lucky, but it's worked for us, and
we don't believe
it's really
in luck.
helped us.
We don't believe in luck if you listen to the last episode or 2 episodes ago. And then one last question, and we'll wrap it up. But the last question is, when should I use my miles or points, in whatever you want to call it, instead of cash? That we get that question a lot.
Yeah. So what we tend to do is when I'm booking flights, I'm looking, is this a vacation? Is it a pleasure trip, or is it business? If it's business, and again, not a tax expert, this is not tax advice. If you're thinking about tax information or want tax advice, please speak to a tax professional, speak to a CPA, speak to an EA, speak to whomever is in the tax field that you want to talk to. For us, this is how it works. The federal government, the IRS, puts no value on miles and points. They think it's free. even though it cost you a lot of money to earn them, they're saying that you earned them and it was given to you by the airline, by the hotel, by whomever. So there's absolutely zero value in that. So if you book a business flight using your points or miles, that's not a tax deduction whatsoever. So even though it's a true business trip, you're flying to Dallas, let's say, for a business meeting or a conference, you're going there, you have everything you need to prove that deduction and all the deductions you're going to take for flying over there. If you used your points and miles, you're not going to get to deduct that portion of it. So on business flights, I'll generally pay cash. Even if there's a great deal to use miles or points, we'll still pay cash just because we can write that off.
Right.
And then we have a ton of miles and points. Gosh, we have over 1 million probably.
Yeah,
American Airlines miles,
so
and
many between the two of
almost
us. Yeah.
over 500,000 in Alaska. So when we want to go on vacation, if we want to take just a pleasure trip, and it's not business related, so obviously we're not going to deduct it from our taxes. We're not going to
Right.
even try. We'll use miles for that.
Right. We have that discussion all the time. Yeah, it's like,
Yeah.
well, this isn't a tax write-off because we're not working our business over there. Let's use our miles. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's how we do it. Yeah. Exactly. And for friends and family, for family, maybe you want to give somebody a trip,
Mhm.
the flights, we do that. That's really fun that you earn these miles. Really, they are valuable. You and I
There
have
is,
talked about it.
people talk. I see people that will say, "Well, I use my miles, and it's a free flight," and I'm okay, cool. And they were, somehow in the discussion, it's how many miles they use for the flight. Yeah, I ended up having to burn like 300,000 of my miles. And you flew economy?
Yeah,
I'm
that would
thinking,
be
do you
crazy.
realize how much your mile? I go, your miles are probably worth like a penny and a half per mile. Do the math. You way overspent on that. I mean, you could have found a better, and I don't tell them all this, but I'm thinking,
Yeah.
gosh, you could have found so much better of a redemption value using your miles for something else. And that's the other thing too, is if you have credit card points, and one of the credit cards I really like, or the credit cards that I do like, are credit cards that have what I call like a universal currency to them. So all these, like if you have, gosh, I'll say here, if you have for instance, Vicky has her American Airlines co-branded credit card, which gives her American Airlines miles. That's not a universal currency. That currency, the American Airlines miles, can only be used on American Airlines. Or if she's going to use a partner of American, she can still book through American Airlines using her miles to get on an Alaska flight, um, which is kind of a mess. But she's stuck with just those American Airlines miles. With credit cards, there are some credit cards that give you what I consider like almost like a universal currency, even though they're not truly universal, but they have partners that they trade with. So you can transfer your credit card points into miles with several different airlines. You can choose through their portal, or you can trade them with for hotel points, or you can trade them for rental car points, or you can trade them as a statement credit. Generally speaking, the worst redemption values are when you trade for hotels and rental cars. You don't get a whole lot for it. And even if you use it for a statement credit, you're not going to get a lot for it, usually a penny per point. You can get, and we've done this, we've gotten over 15 cents per point valuation by trading it for flights, because there's certain flights that'll be just a smoking deal. And if you transfer the points to that airline's miles and then purchase the flight using their currency, their airline miles currency, there are some crazy deals out there that you can grab a hold of, and the better redemption value. So if you're looking at credit cards, it's another thing you want to look at, is look at ones that have a number of trading partners.
Good.
Right?
Yeah. Wow. That was a lot of great information, John.
Well,
Like
thank
from
you, Vicky.
years, yes, from years and years of you learning all this. So, yeah, thank you so much.
And there's so much more to it too. And then we kind of just scratched the surface,
Yeah.
even though it was, it's been 45 minutes of scratching the surface. But
Yeah.
it really, truly is. There's so much to it.
If you want to hear more, definitely in the comments, let us know. Tell us what you'd like to hear more of. We could do a whole episode on one specific, maybe just credit cards, maybe just how to use points the best way, or something else when it comes to business. We would love to hear from you. We'd love to have you share this episode with a friend that maybe is traveling and looking for the best way to use their money for their business or their points. So we've had a great time with you today. Thank you for joining us. Oh, did you have one more
thing I was just
tip?
going to say too is if you're thinking about like if you think the credit card thing makes sense, because it really does. It does for us. Immensely. We've saved so much by having the right credit cards, and that's the key, right? The right credit cards. If you're thinking about it, reach out to us because we can give you kind of some suggestions of ones that have worked really well for us and what I thought had really good value for their annual fee. And I can explain the reasons why we felt that way. Maybe you'll feel the same. So reach out to us and we'll be more than happy to send you, and just tell us what you're interested in. You fly Delta all the time, or you would like to fly a certain airline or stay at a certain hotel, or whatever your situation is. Just let us know. Give us some pointers on where you're at, and then give us some idea, and then we'll be happy to analyze and see what is the best, maybe what is the best credit card for you.
Yeah, and you can find the information on how to get in touch with us in the show notes. So go ahead and scan that, find our email, and we look forward to hearing from you.
Yeah.
All right, have a great one and travel well.
Bye.
Bye.
Thanks for joining us on Dig the Well.
We hope you feel empowered and ready to take on new challenges.
Remember, if we can do it, so can you. Keep learning, keep believing, and going after your dreams.
And if you enjoyed this episode, share it with someone who needs a little inspiration or maybe a nudge in the right direction.
Help us grow this community of go-getters. Together, we can achieve greatness and get back to family.
Thanks for listening, and let's keep digging the well.